So lately I've been asking myself a question I think a lot of other creatives struggle with, and that's, what am I worth? And it's not just about money, of course. It's about time and skill and experience and what it takes to make a living doing what we love. So I thought it'd be nice to talk a little bit about some of these challenges that exist now that I think weren't really there 15 years ago. A lot of it due to how much the landscape has changed. And there was a time when freelance creatives were trained like professionals, like specialists. I wasn't one of those people. But I've invested a large amount of my time, my creative energy and my love into pursuing this creative outlet that I'm hoping will also be a means to help make a living. But the professionalism associated with this space is being chipped away. So we've got platforms, for example, like Fiverr and Upwork, that are pushing artists to compete against each other on price, ultimately, not on their skill or their craft or their storytelling, just on their price. And so when clients are shopping around for the cheapest options, it sets expectations that are totally unrealistic. Like getting a full children's book illustrated for peanuts. The Fiverr and the Upwork models provide a portal for creative people to sell their services to a much wider audience. But it's created this environment where people are racing themselves to the bottom, to undercut to get the job, to the point where now very polished, high-quality work is being offered for literally $5. And that's creating this unrealistic expectation. And while there are numerous traditional publishers around, there are more and more publishers that I'm coming across that are acting like brokering houses to connect artists with people who have stories. But there's no real gatekeeping that goes on, and there's no expectations set by these types of publishers about what writers of stories should be expecting to pay for illustrating services. So it is not uncommon to start conversations with people and only to present your price list to them and then never hear from them again. And the more I dig, the more websites I find with long lists of people posting their desires for their beautiful stories to be visualized by somebody. But they're offering next to nothing, less than an hourly rate for what would be a week's worth of work. It's just crazy. It's unsustainable. Which I think opens the door for the obvious other player in this space, and that's AI. And look, I get it. Some of the AI tools are amazing. Some of the things they create are really quite impressive. But there's no soul to this work yet. I say yet, but it by its nature is created from what already exists, and so you're missing the artist's interpretation, the artist's take, the artist's humour, the artist's soul in that work, and it's becoming very difficult to explain the value of those human components to clients when they are seeing lots and lots of work being generated at a very cheap price by AI. And if they don't fully invest in the human side of this service and they really are just interested in the product, then I can't blame them. They'll have a budget, they'll have something that they want to achieve. We are not helping ourselves as creatives by sitting back and just letting this continue. by continually underselling ourselves, by undercutting ourselves in an effort to get the job. Perhaps it's born from fear, I can understand that. But again, we're contributing to this unrealistic expectation set in the client's mind about what we are worth. And there are still some great clients out there who get it. And I think in the children's book publishing space in particular, it feels like that there is still a desire for the handcrafted image. Whether it be digitally created, it is still driven by the hand, it's driven by the mind, it's driven by somebody with experience, with stories, with humor, with grief, whatever it is that drives that image onto the page. And of course, the whole AI side of things does scare me quite a lot, it's just rapidly evolving, and if we're not careful, and if we're not mindful of where we are allowing our work to be shown, we end up contributing to what ultimately becomes these gigantic databases of images, and that can be used to train the AI to create work similar to what we do by hand. The Fiverr story is ultimately, as much as the model for it, I don't like. It's becoming even more difficult for creatives now that they're offering an AI service to their creatives. They're now offering to people who sell their services through the platform a subscription to use their AI tool, an AI tool that would be trained on the way you do your own work, so that you can produce AI-generated art just like your own and charge less for it, presumably. So you, as an artist, are still acting as a middleman, offering services to a client, but the client might be receiving either AI-assisted or fully AI-generated work. And while that still puts the artist in control, I just wonder how long it is before the middleman gets cut out altogether. And look, I don't want this to be a woe is me type video. Like, I think the space is still really exciting, and there's lots of opportunities there for creative people to do more than just feed their soul. They can also feed their kids. But I think that we need to be a little bit more aware of the fight. And so we can do some proactive things, like setting realistic expectations with our clients by resisting the urge to drop your rates as you see more competitive pricing being thrown at you by other people. And there are standard rates that are recommended for illustrators here in Australia, put together by different art and illustrating organisations and societies. And I think we need to honour those as much as we can. And so when you do provide your price list to a client and you never hear from them again, that they're probably not the client for you anyway. And don't be disheartened, and keep trying. Yeah, I just think that there's some more things that we can be more outspoken about this. So to go back to the original question, what are we worth? Well, we're worth the years we've put into honing our craft. And we're worth all of the drafts and the edits and the revisions. Every second we spend outside of the billable hours thinking about the work. And we're worth being able to pay the rent and buy our groceries and feed our animals. So if we don't advocate for ourselves, I'm not sure what will happen. So if you're a freelance creative, obviously you're not alone. I'm hoping that this kind of resonates with you. And, the industry is changing. Not always for the better, but we can keep continuing to draw, to paint, to write, to dream, keep the conversation going about what we're worth, what's our value. Don't apologize for what you're charging. Remember all of the countless hours that have gone into getting you to where you are. And let's support each other. Because ultimately, a world in which handcrafted imagery and paintings and drawings and characters, and a world where those things don't exist anymore, is not the world that I want to be in. Absolutely not. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you're navigating through this interesting conundrum too, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment. Let's keep the conversation alive, and stay creative.